What's up, guys? I got a lot of stuff to do and I'm procrastinating. But today's the day. I'm gonna pull the K30Blazer in here. I'm gonna get up on jack stands, get the suspension down at full droop, put the wheels and tires in storage, start tearing out that rear axle, getting ready for the frame swap. I got a lot to do. I don't think it's gonna be as complicated as doing the front links, but yeah, it's an undertaking. Whew. I gotta get my rally cap on. Now let's go do it. There's the garage. Okay, this is feeling pretty familiar. Dirty, sweaty, tired, but having fun. So, axle's about to come out here. I gotta get rid of the track bar. Leaf springs are out, I gotta cut the brakes. And then, yeah. Then we should be cruising. Okay, let's go. Work smarter, not harder. I sprayed the axle down with some simple green, let it sit for a while, and then hit it with the power washer, and boom, it was nice and fresh and clean. I love power washing stuff. It's so fulfilling. I love the 14 bolt full floater. It is such an awesome axle. So simple, yet super, super strong, very easy to work on, and incredibly reliable. The axle is stripped down and ready to get everything cut off. So I'm going to be breaking the torch out here in a sec to get this perch off. Oh, my horrible weld from when I was learning how to weld. I mean, they've held, but that is what lack of heat penetration looks like. Although these were like quadruple welded on too. Anyway, time to cut that mess off. With the axle out, I wanted to pass on to you guys a quick tip that I use for determining axle ratios. If I'm shopping for axles, if I'm looking at ring and pinions, this is a quick way to get an idea of whether the two match if you're looking to buy a set of axles, and a rough idea of most likely what the ratio is in there. All that you're going to do is spin your pinion and count how many times it goes around for one revolution of the ring gear. So let's set this up right now. I'm going to use this marking paint right there. Actually, if I go, yeah, right there. And I will now turn the pinion. That's one turn, two turns, three turns, four turns, 4.5 turns, gets it back there. So what that tells me, 4.5 turns, 456. These are 456 gears. If I was to get all the way around to a little bit past 5, then I know I'm running like a 513, roughly. Now, if you need to know exactly, you can count and figure it out that way. But roughly being able to get a quick idea from just spinning the pinion is a cool little trick that I use. I hope it helps you guys. With the axle out of the truck, now is the perfect time, like I did with the Dana 60, to just strip this thing down, take a look at how things look, replace what I need to replace, and then button it back up. I am not really delving into the inner workings of the gears and things like that because everything's set. I've got the Eaton locker in there already. I'm really happy with how that works, and so I'm just going to leave that good. But I have stripped down one side, pulled the hub all out down to the raw axle tube, and I'm going to pull this one apart, show you guys how it comes apart and what makes the full floater so cool. Let's go. One of the major benefits of the 14 bolt full floater is the axle, which is transmitting torque to the hub, is not carrying any of the load of the weight of the vehicle. So the axle is fully floating. What that means is we can pull this axle out very easily should it get broken. No retaining clips in the center, it's not under any load when you're pulling it out. Very easy to replace, and also really, really strong. So let's pop this guy out. I'm not sure how much fluid I'm going to get out because it's been draining for about 24 hours now. So we'll see. There might be a little dribble here. Yeah, not much. So this is my axle shaft coming out. First thing I notice is I've got a nice greasy shaft. The axle shaft looks great. I don't see any buildup of corrosion. I don't see an excessive wear at first glance. The coloring is nice. No sign of water or anything in here. Now with the axle out, we move over to getting the hub assembly off of the axle itself. The 14-bolt full floater has been a go-to for serious rock crawling and fabricating and everything for years and years, and for very good reasons. Cheap, available, strong, dependable, awesome. There's many things that go into it. Obviously, the size is a big part of why it's so strong and popular. But that size also comes with some additional benefits. One being reduction of stress on a lot of components. For example, the pinion gear and the ring gear are huge. It's a 10.5-inch wide ring gear. What that means is, with a large ring gear, you are distributing the stress across a larger area. More surface area for more stress means less transmitted stress to that individual part. So having a 10-inch ring gear is a huge plus. The axle tubes themselves are 3-inch. I'll have to find out, I'll put it in the video here, just how thick they are, but they're really, really robust. The housing itself is massive. I mean, we all know this thing's a pig, but that pig brings a lot of strength with it. But for me, the best part is the full floater. The fact that you're not carrying load on the axles, that those axle shafts are specifically designed to transmit torque, that's all they have to do, makes it a huge advantage in the field. Pulling an axle shaft out and slapping a new one in should take all of 5-10 minutes, and that's including putting fluid back in. Really, really cool design. It's been around for years and years, and it just plain out works. I love this axle. I've looked at some of the new stuff. I mean, it would be nice to have a factory locking differential or e-brake or all that other stuff, but the reality is, in this trail rig, it's just not that necessary. I need dependable, reliable, and bulletproof, and this thing delivers that in spades. So I want to give you guys a walkthrough as to what my plan of attack is for this guy. Obviously you can see I pulled the axle out. Nothing else has been pulled out yet apart from suspension and axle. So that leaves me with an axle in my garage, half a frame that I've built, and essentially a blank canvas. Next step is going to be working on the 14-bolt full floater. I just want to get this thing built back up. There's not a whole lot of stuff to do to it like the Dana 60, so it's not going to take me several months. I'm sticking with the Detroit, probably sticking with the axle shafts, probably sticking with the same diff cover, just going to rebuild some bearings and stuff like that. I mean, that's where my head's at right now. The next step after I've got that built, including welding on the brace and tacking on the link mounts, is to start putting that guy underneath. And to do that, I'm going to need to start removing a lot of stuff from underneath here. Let's see if I can get you guys some better lighting. So working our way from the back here, you can see here's my old shackle flips. And before anyone asks, all my old suspension stuff is going to be going over onto the Suburban. So yeah, that's where this is all going to be going. So here's the DIY 4x inboarding kit. That's going to be coming off and going over on the Suburban, along with the link bracket right up there. Yeah, you can kind of see that. And then, you guys should have seen all this in my earlier videos, I believe. But this is where we're planning on cutting, right about here. where that big line is. That's where the link brackets are hopefully gonna go. So I need to strip down the frame, pull the tank, pull all the electrical, and get this thing ready to come out. And then I need to start doing a bunch of measurements. I just need to make sure that the frame is going to be lining up with this frame. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces coming together. Axles out, strip the axle down, prep the tubes, get the truss welded on, get the link mount tacked in place, get this thing ready to go back under, pull all the stuff out of the Blazer frame, measure, cut, slap this frame up in there, throw the axle in, and go do burnouts. So, yeah, a lot to do, but it seems a little bit more straightforward than what I dealt with before. I don't have an engine to worry about in the way. I don't have an off-center diff. I don't have a pan hard bar. I don't have steering. I don't have a coolant system and hydraulic steering and anything like that to worry about. It's a lot more simplified. And I have a lot more margin for error in terms of link separation angle and link lengths and things like that. Because it's essentially a trailing arm setup, it's a lot more forgiving. When you have the forelink and you're pushing, it's very important that you get your approach angle right, that you get your link separation right, that you get your pinion angle right, that you get your caster right. All that stuff makes quite a big difference in the handling department. Oh, the one last thing that I'm going to be mentioning, sway bars. I do need to start doing some research as to where I'm going to put the sway bars and how I'm going to mount them. It's been good so far with not having a sway on it. I mean, it's a handful to drive, but it's managed to, I've been able to manage it. Going to rear links in the back with no sways is a recipe for disaster. So I am weighing the cons and benefits of putting a single sway bar in the rear versus a single sway bar up front, or just going ahead and putting one in the front and one in the rear, which ultimately I think would be the best option. So that's where we stand. There's a lot of just manual labor to do. I'll stick the camera up on the bench, put it in time lapse, and work like a crazed monkey. Come along, let's go do it. So I got the axle out, I've got a lot of the bracketry cut off, I've got basically bare tubes. I've still got a flap disc and get some of the perches smoothed out and cleaned up, but I got raw tube almost that's gonna get the truss placed on, get that tacked in place, get the pinion guard in, get that all dialed in, pull that off, paint everything, get it back together, rebuild that axle, and then start tearing out the rear end of the truck. Don't forget to go check out merricksgarage.com, my personal website. I got a bunch of stuff over there. I got merchandise, I got stickers, I got hats. I got a blog that I've started. I've got the Amazon store, favorites and highlights. I've got trip reports and things like that. So keep checking that. I'll be back at it next week. Merrick's Garage. Peace.